All right, y'all tuned into the Bank Down Radio Show. I am your host, Andreas, a.k.a. Discover This. And that was Little Onion with Moving Packs. So y'all go and check them out. Middle Georgia artists making Georgia artists. But we have a special lineup for y'all today. We have our first special guest, Miss Cierra Smith. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for coming to be on the show. All the way from, you welcome. All the way from Duluth.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We're reaching out to people, and people are responding. That's what I'm loving about this, and meeting a lot of different people. But Miss Smith is the, or are you CEO of
Yes.
Abundant? Okay, she said yes. But she is the CEO of Abundant Financial Solutions, and also is a registered respiratory therapist.
Yes.
Give us, first of all, what is a registered respiratory therapist?
Basically, I deal with the respiratory system. So, for instance, when people go on life support, I handle those kind of people. Do breathing treatments, different kind of things that deal with the respiratory system. I work with pediatrics now, so I deal with the babies and everything, like when they come out on the ventilator and all of those things.
Now, is the goal to like get them off of that stuff and to on to healthy, productive life?
Correct. So to build their lungs up from when they are born, because most of them are premature.
Yeah, I was actually a preemie. Okay. I was 7 months. They said I was no bigger than a ketchup bottle, and a ketchup bottle back then was small.
Right.
You know.
So you grew into yourself.
yeah, I actually did. I think I probably shorted myself a little bit because I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 14 or so. Yeah. So I already know that cigarettes bad. But it was peer pressure or whatever I want to call it. Just to come into that. But I didn't really like them. I couldn't really get addicted to them. I was like, I don't know, they didn't taste right or something like that. I don't know what it was, but I didn't see what the fascination was. But I think that stuck in my graph a little bit. And then, the alcohol didn't help either.
Right.
I was like 14 years old drinking, tequila Gold and all sorts of stuff. Jack Daniels, just getting hammered. But now I have this, the crazy thing is I have this like crazy cough I've had for like months and months and months. Like it started prior to flu season or whatever. And I don't know, like I do like little breathing treatments and stuff. Like they're not prescribed or whatever, but I just take my kids' little machine and use it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, hey,
So you probably have chronic bronchitis.
It's something, but what I'm mad about is that I've been to 3 different physicians, and it seems like none of them can get it right.
Have you seen a pulmonologist?
No.
That's your lung doctor.
Oh, well, see, that's probably what I need to do. But at the same time, I pay for my own insurance. Well, I don't pay for insurance. I pay out of pocket or whatever. So I ain't trying to go to a specialist because I know specialists, more money or whatever. So then, I done spent like about $3,000 just going to all these different places and getting prescriptions and all that.
Right.
So I started looking stuff up online. So we're going to get into the financial stuff.
No, you're fine.
But, I just, because, this is your area as well.
Right.
I like to, pick people's brains and stuff. What do you think about like holistic approaches to like, treatments and things of that nature?
Honestly, I think it depends, but if, let's say, I've had a patient before that their family was trying to do something like that and they didn't want treatment for their child, but you have to think about the best interest of the patient, because if we have something that's medically proven, to work to help, you or your child, why not go that route? I'm not opposed to it, but I would seriously take into consideration what is being placed on the table.
Okay. So I gotta get you back for another show because I want to do a show around nutrition and because I garden and stuff. Been doing it for like going on 3 years now. I have a lot of stuff, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, pretty much everything that we consume I grow it in the backyard.
Nice.
I'm very big onto like holistic like type of curing ourselves and stuff like that, because I don't want to sometimes I do. I put the medical industry down. I ain't gonna sit there and say that I don't. But I look at it from this standpoint. Like the medical industry was founded by the pharmaceutical industry, and it seems like it's nothing but prescription based or medicine type of based of treatments or whatever. And I know that it's a need for it. I'm not saying there's not a need for it, but it seems like with today's day and age and all the different things that you see it just seems like, it's just an industry built off of economics,
Right.
because my mother-in-law went through breast treatment cancer. She has stage 2, and the first course of therapy for the treatment for the cancer was chemotherapy.
Right.
And I'm like, chemotherapy kills everything in your body, good
Right.
and bad.
Right.
But I'm like, people are Western medicine likes to knock Eastern medicine,
Right.
and it's like this back and forth or whatever. And but then when people are like switch their nutrition to like a plant-based diet,
Right.
things of that nature, alkaline water, things that are putting minerals back into our bodies that are supposed to be there, and you can see where it's documented proof that people like cure diseases or eradicate them or whatever the case may be. It seems like that doesn't get the full credit that it should get.
Right.
Just
I
based
think
off of
they are wanting more research on it
Mhm.
versus just saying, okay, well, here's a little bit of research and we'll go with that. As you see, like with the medical industry and, with the medicines and everything, of course, they go to the extent to do their research, which is why they choose medication for everything.
Mhm.
They don't really try to look at the holistic side because they feel like they don't have enough proof or enough research.
I can understand that, but then like we could well see these commercials with different prescription drugs and like half of the damn side effects.
Right. Side
Death.
effects. Right.
I'm like, why the hell would I choose something
Yeah.
to where it's been proven at a certain percentage that can cause death?
Right.
I'm like, nobody wants that alternative.
I totally get it.
So it's just funny how it's worked because, you have a lot of stuff that people have been doing for like, you have ancient civilizations that did stuff for, thousands of years or whatever. And here is modern medicine, how old is modern medicine? I would say like 2, maybe 300 years old at the most. So I'm like, you have that and it seems like it gets all the money pushed towards, this as opposed to, because you had, what was it, people back in the day were called alchemists or something like that, where, they used to grind up
Right.
herbs and things of that nature. And,
Right.
you had the village doctor or
Right.
whatever before it was titled doctor. I just think, it's just too much.
But
I don't know what it is.
It's about the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about the money.
And money shouldn't be the like motivator for like healthcare.
But it is. I mean, the healthcare system, honestly, I hate to say this, but it's kind of a ripoff.
Well, when you
And
look
I work
at
in this industry, which
Yeah.
is why I can say that, but it's about the money.
Yeah, because it's like United States, when you compare it to all the other countries, we're like number, 27 or 37.
Right.
Cuba has better healthcare coverage.
Exactly.
And I'm like,
Trust me, I understand.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
It did like, the Second Bill of Rights and all that with Woodrow Wilson. And it, I don't sit there and just like, I don't bad mouth stuff or whatever. I do research or whatever.
Right.
So, you could tell. So I'm not like one of those people who just jump out there and just jump on bandwagon
Right.
with stuff. I look at stuff I try to look at everything I can from an analytical standpoint and see what makes sense. But yeah, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
It is. But enough about that. we gonna talk about that more. I definitely want you to come back
I'll
so we
definitely
can
do
go
that.
in there, and then I want to get like some other people too to feel the whole spectrum
Right.
of life and nutrition and all that.
Okay.
But Abundant Financial Solutions.
Yes.
Tell the people like exactly what is Abundant Financial Solutions.
I started off with doing it for tax purposes, but I wanted mine to be different because this industry of taxes is so saturated. Everybody does taxes. So you
Yeah.
got to kind of differentiate yourself from the other businesses because everybody will do the same thing. But the difference with Abundant Financial is I actually take the time with my clients and actually go through their financial plan. I'm not just doing their tax return. I'm showing them if they do get a refund, how to maximize their refund. I tell them, okay, well, you got this back. And people are so excited about a tax refund, not knowing it's your own money.
Yeah, it is.
You're just overpaying the government every year, and they're
Exactly.
giving you the same money back interest free.
Yeah.
So they take all that money you overpaid, go invest it, make billions of dollars, and then just give you back what you gave them. And people are so excited. They be ready in November. But what I do is take that refund, show them how to get their cash flow management. And the reason why people are overpaying is because they have a simple form called the W-4 filled out incorrectly.
Yeah, they don't put all the ones and twos that they should put on there.
Because most people think it's about dependents, but it's about allowances. So if people understood that and actually read that form, they wouldn't be paying.
I think even a single person, I think when I looked at it and read the form, a single person should have like at least 4 or 5 or something like that. Right. At the bottom.
Well,
you tally it all up?
Well, actually, they'll have 2, according to the new tax law.
Oh, well, yeah. Of course. We can get into all that too.
Most single people put 0 or 1.
Yeah,
and they're
I'm like, man, you paying out the ass for
exactly.
Why?
And
it was like, well, I don't want to be, I'm like, man, please, you better open your business or something and get out your stuff.
Exactly. And that's where America capitalizes off of people's lack of financial education, which is why I got into financial education, business, because they're capitalizing off us because of our ignorance. Like, of course, we weren't taught this in school.
Yeah.
So we got to get it ourselves. And most people won't even pick up a book to read it.
That is true.
So
there's a lot of,
if you don't educate yourself, how do you expect to learn? They're not going to tell you everything in school. Because if so, I wouldn't be in thousands of dollars of college debt.
Where'd you go to school at?
I went to Middle Georgia State University and then Augusta University.
Okay. So it was a transfer, you got degrees at both places?
Degrees at both.
Oh, so
I got my associates for respiratory at Middle Georgia State.
Okay.
And then my bachelor's at Augusta University.
What'd you get in your bachelor's? What program of study?
Respiratory therapy.
Oh, okay. So how do you go from respiratory therapy to jumping into financial?
Well, when you go through financial situations,
I understand.
Get yourself out. You will start, doing what you have to do. Start researching. Start educating yourself on how to get out.
Hold on. I think that's too much of a generalized statement. You had something special in you to where you wanted to get yourself out of the situation. Because if that was true, then there would be a lot of other people doing the same thing that you did.
Well, they don't have the dedication and heart like I did. They're not sick and tired.
They're not inspired. Exactly. They're not, well. I think some people are sick and tired, but they just don't want to do anything. They're content on being that way.
They're not really sick and tired yet.
Well, I guess you do have a fair point then.
Yeah. So when you are down to your last and you are desperate to get out your situation, I guarantee you will do something about it. Okay.
Well, let's take a break there. Let's give people a little chance to warm up. And if y'all got any tax questions out there, financial questions, you can do so. Dial in 917-889-8041. We're going to play this Billy Slum Champagne. Y'all make sure y'all go out there and support. And when we get back, we got more questions. All right, we're back. That was Billy Slum with Champagne. Make sure y'all go and support. You can get off of iTunes right now, Tidal, everywhere on the internet. And then also he has the Gravity shirts for everybody, all the females out there who's been listening, liking to the song. Go ahead and hit him up, Billy Slum on Facebook.com. But we're back with Miss Cierra Smith and talking about the abundant financial solutions. And I like talking about taxes. But I've seen some documentaries about taxes and the IRS and all that. Since you do taxes, you're more familiar with tax law than me, because I'm not a tax person. Yeah. But I've learned through business taxes and filing my own taxes and nature, like the Internal Revenue Service. From my understanding, it seems like it's a extension of what is it? The Treasury Department. Right. It's not like really like a branch of the government, sort of say.
Yes and no.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, they're part of the federal government. I mean, because they deal with the federal taxes and things like that. But I don't really get that in depth with it.
Okay.
As of yet.
As of yet?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an ongoing learning thing. Like, yeah, it's never ending. Like, I think I learn something every day about taxes and the tax laws and everything like that. Like, you think you understand, especially with the new tax reform law that's going on. Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the new, for us to?
So for basically, people thought it was going to hurt people, but one thing, it did help people with children, because a lot of people have children and they weren't putting the right thing on their W-4, but you get more allowances with your kids now, and It's geared more toward businesses as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not all bad. I mean, it actually is helping, and they dropped the tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps people, not pay as much in taxes anymore because, a W-2 employee was like you were getting taxed anywhere between 28 and 33%.
Mm-hmm. So it went down to like what?
Like 25%.
Okay, so you get the difference back.
Right. So some people should see it in their paycheck. They should have already seen it.
Yeah.
So that's the good part.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't get to claim like personal exemptions anymore, but I mean, it's still fine.
Like what? You talking about itemized exemptions?
Some itemized deductions you can't claim.
Like what?
As far as like your mortgage interest, some of that stuff
that sucks.
You can't claim, and then there's like caps on different deductions that you can take now.
Like what?
Let's see. I know they did the mortgage. There is one thing that they did cap on there. Like you can make so much and claim so much as far as your itemizations. And it's a lot that goes into it. Like,
yeah. Okay,
I'm still
so
studying it.
How about this then? So would you recommend, or is it just like case by case, standard deduction or itemized deductions?
A single person, I would go with standard deduction because the standard deduction did increase.
Okay.
So it went from 12,000 to 24,000. So
really?
That was a big jump. Yes. So that's why when people were like, "Oh,
that still ain't enough for me though," I'm just saying.
they were like, "Oh, well, it's not that good. It's not going to help us. Trump is offering himself, but it doubled." Yeah,
they don't understand what happened.
Right, because a lot of people don't even understand, the standard deduction versus itemized, and a lot of people don't even itemize anyway.
So let's educate the consumers. I mean, the listeners, what are consumers? Like I got clients. The listeners, what's the biggest difference, or how can you sum it up to where they can understand the difference between the standard deduction and itemized?
Okay, so with the standard deduction, most people take the standard deduction anyway because they're not itemized, and most people that itemize have they are homeowners.
Uh-huh.
So they're able to take their mortgage and have itemized deductions for that, or if they do like charitable donations, those are itemized deductions. But most people don't own a home nowadays. They're renting still. So most people, it would be best for them to take the standard deduction because you don't have enough to have itemized deductions if you're not a homeowner. Yeah. Most homeowners take the itemized deductions, or unless you have a business. Yeah. Other than that, everybody else is taking the standard deduction.
Okay. Now, so for individuals who just need I guess like tax havens or tax breaks or things of that nature, however you want to say it, would you recommend that they, start a business?
Yes.
Even if it's just, paper?
I would recommend starting a home-based business because the reason
home-based business, we'll say it that way.
Right. Because you're able to get more tax deductions with a home-based business than a traditional business.
Yeah.
So that's what I did in the beginning when I got in financial services. And basically my whole lifestyle is a tax write-off.
Yeah, that's what I tell people.
Yeah, so I would recommend everybody get a home-based business because if you don't have one, you're going to be up the creek.
Yeah, and I don't see the point of paying all this taxes when the money is misappropriated anyway.
I mean, true.
I'm like, people don't understand. You can actually trace the amount of money that's being spent by the federal government by going, I think it's like federalspending.org or something, where you can go and see where they're spending money in the various programs. And I'm like, there's so many black book accounts and all this stuff or whatever. It's just crazy.
Yeah, but most people won't even take the time to look at stuff like that.
Yeah, no. So let's get into, well, let's look at it this way. Your inspiration for being an entrepreneur, where'd it come from?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never seen myself working for anybody long. I've always wanted to originally open my own daycare, but then when I got into a financial bind and I needed to get out, I did reach out to someone in financial services to help me get out of my situation. And once you start looking at all this stuff that's really common sense, you're like, oh, well, I can do this. I can show other people how to do the same thing. Like, so many people are in financial crises and they just don't know how to get out. And it's honestly simple to get out, but you just have to have the heart to do it and be ready, and committed to do it.
Yeah, have to be disciplined.
Right.
Yeah, I tell a lot of people, especially artists and stuff, I'm like, you can do a lot with, a little amount of money.
Exactly. You don't have to have a lot of money.
Is that? I tell you, look, what is it? 2 years ago, I made $17,000 in a year.
Right.
My kids went to private school.
Right.
I ate, they ate, you know.
And that's the thing. It's not even about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep.
Yeah, and what you do with it.
Right.
Like I invest in all sorts of stuff now. So like I'm always moving my money for like as far as like, you know, cash flow, whatever. I might have $1,000 one day and then all of a sudden the people are like, where's it gone? Well, it's gone to other, you know, things to make more money.
And that's where our people go wrong. We don't invest because a lot of us don't even know about investing, or they're too scared to take risks. But if you never take risks, you get somebody else rich versus getting yourself rich.
Yeah, I try to tell them that, but you know, why you know that? Do you think that stems from like never having anything as a culture, as a people?
Right, and because our parents didn't know about it. So if no one ever taught you and you don't teach yourself or try to pick up a book, how would you ever know?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to start educating ourselves as Black people, especially, to learn how to buy assets and not liabilities. We, especially with like these tax refunds, we go out, get these cash cars. We go out, get the Jordans, get the jewelry, get cars, fancy clothes and stuff like that. But how is that going to make you money in the future?
Yeah, it's not. It's really not. I'm like, make you look good or fulfill some type of need that you have at the time. But then after that, you know, purchase is out and it's gone. Right.
You making them rich. And especially with these cars, once you drive it off the lot, the car depreciates. And I don't think people really understand that either. So why don't you start investing in something that'll make you more money? I'm not trying to continue to make anybody else rich. I'm trying to make me and my family rich.
Exactly. So for people who like say they want to turn their life around, you know, and I believe that money is a tool, right? I don't believe it has the power that, you know, a lot of people say, because, you know, you hear that adage, that, you know, if I just had more money or whatever. Right. And I'm like, no, it's not more money.
It's better cash flow.
Exactly. And, you know, even with that, you know, people don't understand that.
Right.
But, you know, cash flows, you know, tracking your money, how it goes in and what it takes to make it and what goes out. And I'm like, but, you know, anyway, besides all that or whatever, not getting into the technicals or whatever, because, you know, it turns people off when you talk about, you know, stuff that it's not interesting to them.
Right.
Money being a tool, and people who, you know, feel the need to, like, you know, the ones who are like rock bottom and want to turn their life around. What would you say from a professional standpoint is a good starting point for those individuals?
Basically correct your tax withholding, because a lot of people think their biggest expense is, you know, rent or mortgage, but your biggest expense is your taxes, because Uncle Sam always gets his first. So if you're able to minimize your taxes by correcting your W-4 form, that's a start. Because now you're having that extra money that you were overpaying added back to your paycheck. Exactly. Now you're able to do something with that. You're able to pay down some debt that you're in. You're able to start investing if that's what you want to do. You're able to start, you know, living a better lifestyle if that's what you want to live, you know. So I would say minimizing your taxes by correcting your W-4.
Okay. So in your venture in doing this and being an entrepreneur and, you know, opening up your own business, how has the reception been as far as, you know, from the community or abroad?
It hasn't been easy because switching tax preparers is like switching your barber or switching your hairstylist. Nobody's just going to switch like that. And people aren't looking to really pay the highest amount. But I feel like I'm going to do more than H&R Block, do more than Jackson Hewitt. They're just filing your taxes. I'm helping you create a financial plan. So people are not willing to pay the higher prices. They're looking for free or cheap, and they want the maximum refund. And they're having preparers lie for them about certain things, and I mean, it's not easy.
What's something that, you know, you don't have to say who or anything, but like what is something that people like lie about?
How many dependents they have. A lot of people lie unknowingly about their filing status, because especially head of household, especially married couples, the man always says, I'm head of household. You can never file head of household if you're married. You have to be unmarried to file head of household. People lie about their deductions. They make up deductions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a lot of people have started to do it on their own,
Mm-hmm.
so they can get the maximum refund and put whatever they want to put. But when I do my tax business, I make sure I have documentation for everything, because if we get audited,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? It's on you. It's not on me, because your name is on it.
Mm. So even as a tax preparer, it's still on the
Right.
person is being filed on behalf.
Right.
Okay.
Because they're legally signing the documents. They're
Yeah.
signing their tax return at the end of the day. But what I do is I have audit protection for my clients.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also I'm studying to be an enrolled agent. So if we ever do get audited, I can represent them in front of the IRS.
Okay. I heard, or I've also read, you know, even with like the IRS, you know, I'm sort of like anti-government, you know. You were like, I could tell.
Yeah.
I sway a little bit towards like a libertarian type of thinking or whatever, you know. I believe there's a place for government. It's just I think it's, you know, sometimes it's too big for what it is, for what it's trying to accomplish, and that, you know, people should be able to be self-sufficient at
Right.
some particular points in their lives or in some areas.
Right.
But also I understand, you know, the government needs money to run, to have all these different services or whatever. So sometimes the people that are employed by the government might not be as forthcoming as they should.
Of course
Like,
not.
you know, like cops can lie to you under oath
Right.
and still not be prosecuted for it. But if
Of
you tell
course.
them something to incriminate yourself, you're still held accountable.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, the IRS, you know, have agents out there too who do stuff like that. Like they'll try to, you know, intimidate you or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, and, you know, it depends on, I guess, the person's mentality or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, you might give them more information. Like some people take multiple years to them when they're probably only requesting 1 year.
Right.
So I'm like, you're volunteering information, you know.
True.
So if that information gets you in trouble, then, you know, that's on that person.
Exactly.
It's
Absolutely.
not like that person. It's not like the IRS agents are gonna be like, okay, well, I told you to give me 2017, but you brought me 2014 through 17. So here,
Right.
you take back 2014 and 15
Mhm.
or whatever and whatnot. They're not gonna do that.
Right.
So yeah, I look at it.
I do my due diligence.
No, which, you know, I understand. You know, we all should do our due diligence and stuff. But I think it's great that, you know, you have this this moral compass, you know, within you to do things ethical and by standard and code, which we all should, you know. But I also know that, you know, sometimes it can swing against us.
Right.
You know, depending on, you know, the other entity that you're battling against, whether or not they feel they should govern themselves by them saying ethical standards, sort of say. But as far as like with the financial planning aspect of it, and like someone's planning their future, like what is a good starting point? Or like when you sit down with a client, you know, do y'all like comb through what their income is right now, what their spending
Correct.
habits are, and then, you know, their goals?
Yes.
Like,
So what I do is I basically gather all the information. Are they in the black? Are they in the red? Basically try to figure out where they are at this point, and then put a plan together like by month. So, I mean, because nothing's going to change rapidly. It
Yeah.
happens over time. And basically what I do is we sit down, make this plan, and we're going to go through this. And every month we're going to do a checkup, because you got to have some kind of accountability, because you can make a plan all day for somebody, but if they're not following through with it, they'll never get out their situation.
Yeah.
So what I do is we have a monthly goal that we have to reach.
Okay.
If we don't reach it, it's okay. We can still work on it until we get to where we need to be. So we basically put everything on the table. So, I mean, most of the time, they're not even going to know, because people don't know where their money is coming in, going out. So once we can get that together, that's when we can start making a plan to get to our monthly goals.
So do you think, with that being said, do you think like the convenience of debit cards and credit cards and stuff is more of a hindrance to the financial aspect?
Yes.
Because, you know, checkbooks and stuff, you know, used
Right.
to, there was an old adage and people thought, you know, it was tedious or whatever, but you had to sit down with your checkbook and write
Right.
down, you know, your debits and credits and all that stuff.
Right. I do think it's that way, because it was like that for me. Because when you get paid or whatever, you know, your money goes on your debit card because everybody has direct deposit now. Hardly nobody's getting a check.
No.
You're
I
not
write myself a check.
you're not really looking at your account. A lot of people don't like to look at their account. I know there's been times I swipe my card, swipe, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, I thought I had this. And that it does hurt us, you know, with debits and credit cards because we're not held accountable. We're not writing it down like we used to have to do with checks. So I think if you have like a system to where you write everything down, like myself, I have a little money planner. So every month I write down all of my bills and I know how much I'm paying on this, how much I'm paying on that. And it's not just bills, it's everything that I'm paying for. Like I did it last month and I spent like maybe $300, $400 in gas alone for 1 month. And you see how much money you spend on eating out. And that's when you start to slowly cut back on certain things. I mean, gas, you may not be able to cut back on that, but like eating out.
Yeah, it depends on, you know.
Right.
Like you might have business expenses within those gas, so
exactly.
It's a necessary expense.
Right. So like even eating out or things like that or going shopping, spending this much amount. So basically, once you start trimming back, once you know your number, because a lot of people don't know their number. They don't know how much they need to, you know, survive every month. So we have to figure that out too. So it's all about putting everything on the table and figuring out what your goal is.
So why do you think it is that people are uncomfortable talking about money?
Because they don't have any.
You think that's why? Because they don't have any?
Or they don't understand it. Honestly, they don't understand it. A lot of people don't understand how money works, so they really don't want to talk about it. They don't know where their money is going, so they really don't want to talk about it. Because I've had someone ask me before, you just got paid. Where all your money go? Well, I do pay bills. I do have to do this. I'm a single mom. I pay everything. So don't ask me where my money went. I mean, I know where it is. It's not like I'm irresponsible. But people just don't know where their money is going. So that's why they don't want to talk about it. And they're not where they need to be financially, and they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I think I get that a lot where people are very uncomfortable. Cause I talk about money all the time. I have to, especially with the different line of works that I do. And I tell people all the time, like, they don't understand. Like, even with a business, it's just like a household or whatever. You got to balance it
Exactly.
the best way possible.
Right.
And I can't be having people coming to me talking about, we miss payroll. You know what I'm saying? So
Gotta have good record keeping.
exactly. You got to have that. You got to make sure, you know, I ain't spending too much on marketing or whatever the case may be, operational stuff, expenses that can like seem to get out of hand. And sometimes got to nip them in the bud.
Right.
You know, so it's amazing. But I think people should be more open to going to a financial planner and someone who can help them, you know, with a good guide, because we all have different areas of our lives that we're not strong at.
Right.
So we need someone else in those areas to be able to, you know, help compensate for that. And they say always surround yourself with a good team.
Exactly.
I mean, that's one of the people on your team.
Right.
You know, that accountant, whatever the case may be. And if we get our money, I tell people, when you get your money right, man, everything else falls in place.
Exactly. You don't have to worry about anything, and that's why people have so many problems, especially in marriages. What's the number one cause of divorce? Money. It always is, and it's sad because people, you know, how people be like, oh, well, we're going to do things 50-50 or 100.
Yeah, I don't believe in that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because one, numerically, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
If I make 100,000 and she makes 200,000 or whatever, I'm like, she has my whole salary that she could pay for.
Right.
You know,
and there was a question that was raised on Facebook, I believe, and they were saying the husband, like back in the day, the husband used to pay all of the bills and everything like that.
Because the husband worked.
It can't be right. It can't be like that now, because what if the wife is a doctor and she makes more money? You can't make him pay the mortgage alone.
Exactly.
Why not split it?
Exactly. I think you should split stuff a proportion to, you know, your income.
Exactly.
If you have the income where you can pay that, you know, 60% of the mortgage, then cool. Because, like I said, if a doctor can make anywhere between $125 to $300, $400,000, depending on, you know, the specialty. Right. And say he's a janitor and he's only making like $50,000. Right. You can't. That doctor wants to live in $1 million house. He can't afford those payments.
Exactly. So that's why I would never say put everything on the husband or the man, because he might not be making as much as the wife.
Yeah.
So I mean, traditional ways have kind of gone out the window. So
Yeah. Exactly.
It's what it
I
is.
think they have, and I think people have to update themselves as far
Right.
as like just the expectations and things of that nature. Because like you said, that's a recipe for disaster, and they don't even
Exactly.
see it coming like a
Exactly.
mile away.
Right.
I mean, it's too much financial strain on him, and then
Right.
he's gonna feel inadequate or whatever. So that's gonna
Right.
lead to all this other stuff, and it's just way too much. So that 50-50 thing is like that's gone
Yeah.
out the window.
Exactly.
I think it should be based, like I said, numeric, and we should like step away from. I don't know why is it that we have so much cleanse to like money or whatever. I don't get it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I used to when I was younger,
Mhm.
but I don't like money. Like I need it or whatever.
Right.
Not to say that I don't know, and I like spending just like anybody else, but at the
Right.
same time, it doesn't feel the same to me
Mhm.
anymore.
I mean, it doesn't have the same value, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, money is not everything, but
Mhm.
money is needed.
Yeah. Well, they say money is needed for your freedom, so
True.
you can't pick up and go anywhere if you want to
Right.
in the world if you don't have, the coin.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it shouldn't be everything in our lives.
Right.
We shouldn't put it on some type of pedestal or whatever like some people do.
That's why they say, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And most people get that scripture wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Mhm.
money
Yeah.
is not the root. It's
Yeah,
the
it's
love
not.
of
It's,
money.
exactly.
So,
So I guess in your ventures of being, an entrepreneur woman, and then being, a black woman of that, do you feel that, especially in your industry and trying to attract clientele, has it been like a little bit more difficult for you, or do you feel that, it's an even playing field to go out there and acquire customers like anybody else?
it's kind of easier,
Mhm.
actually, because there's not really many men in the tax business
Really?
world in my area.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's easier to deal, because you'll have more support from other women.
hmm
And then, of course, they'll tell their friends. So
Mhm.
I think it's easier as a woman. And every tax preparer I've been to, since I have had to do taxes, have been with women.
Hmm.
I've hardly ever seen men. I mean, of course, there's men in the field.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because I worked at a finance company at one time.
Mhm.
It's called Southern Finance, and they started training us on how to do taxes,
Mhm.
and I had to get the PIN number for
Right.
taxpayer
P10. Mhm.
number.
P10.
Yeah, yeah. See, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And it was a male based office with us, so it was like
Right.
three of us, whatever. But I don't ever think I really looked at it that way,
Mhm.
the male female ratio or.
Mhm.
And they're like, I just, someone who did taxes, either, they could
Yeah.
do a good job or they couldn't.
Right.
It is so, but like you said earlier, though, everybody popping up like out of the woodworks. And
Exactly.
how do you set yourself apart from, I guess, the competition? Like, how do you get them to see value in what you do?
Again, like I was saying, with me doing the extra,
Mhm.
like showing them, not just filing their return,
Mhm.
like doing above and beyond. And then also, I specialize in home-based business taxes. A lot
Okay.
of people don't do that
Yeah.
because they don't really understand. So I have that specialty as well. So I have to make myself different
Mhm.
in the tax business than a regular tax preparer.
So is that a home-based business that's a sole proprietorship, or can they have a home-based business and be like a LLC?
Yes.
So you actually do like Schedule K's and stuff as well? Oh, look at you,
Yes.
fancy now.
Yeah. I mean, I have to set myself apart because, like I said, this industry is so saturated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for everybody out there, Schedule K is a more complicated
Yes.
tax return. I didn't want to do it myself, so
Yeah.
I paid a CPA to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can do that. Nope,
Right.
nope. I don't even like the 1040A or whatever. I don't like that
Well,
one.
that's easy.
Well,
Basic.
the 1040EZ is, I think, about the easiest one. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Basic
I don't care for any of them. I hated accounting when I went to school, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't really like math like that until when it comes to my money,
Mhm.
I love it. So, hey,
Yeah,
if I can help myself, I help everybody else too.
I had to take Principles of Accounting 1 and 2 and Managerial Accounting
Mhm.
because I did business at Fort Valley.
Mhm.
And, my concentration is in marketing. So, when
Okay.
people talk to me about that, great. I
Right.
can go all day with that.
Right.
Business, operations,
Yeah.
all day. Because I even had to do like a receivable, handle receivables and payroll and all that stuff, and like it's cool or whatever, but it's not like a thing I want to do, but nobody else wants to do it.
Right.
What is it about numbers that people don't like?
Hey, numbers don't lie. That's why people don't like numbers don't lie.
A lot of people just don't like them.
Right.
So for, I guess, anybody out there that's listening, if they need services, first of all, let them know again all the different services that you can offer, and then where can they contact you?
Okay. So the different services that I offer is tax preparation for individual returns, small business owners, home-based business owners. I also offer financial planning and tax planning as well, and cash flow management. Also, I can be reached at Abundant Financial on Instagram, and I will soon have a page on Facebook, but you can also reach me on my personal Instagram, which is Cierra_Smith 89.
Okay.
So you will find a lot of tax information and financial information on both of those pages on Instagram.
Okay. So is there anything, I'd like to give my guests the last, word for comments, anything that you want to say to the people that, that you think they should know, any words of inspiration or memes or themes or whatever?
Hey, it's time to start you a business. Get ahead of the game, because if you don't start educating yourself about finances, nobody will do it for you, and you'll always be behind.
All right, there you have it. Make sure you go look up Abundant Financial Solutions, Miss Cierra Smith. You can find her on Instagram at Abundant Financial.
Yes.
You go follow the page, and she will soon have a Facebook page as well, Abundant Financial Solutions. She might even have tutorials or something on there. I don't know, workshops or something.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely support all the people out there doing great things in the community and who are actually trying to help us all get to the point that where we want to go. We're going to have our second guest come up here in a moment, but we're going to have some more music for y'all. Anybody out there, you can dial in 917-889-8041. We got Billy Sloan with Gravity.